Welcome back. This is Linda P. Jones, and I wanted to review some really interesting news in crypto, something that we haven't really touched on before. This is a new report that says already 13 African countries utilize Ripple and XRP. And I wanted to review this article with you, and then we're going to go through the report together because there's some very interesting information that's really kind of been glossed over. And I thought it would be nice to do a drill down on this article and really dig in and see what's going on there. So this says the African Blockchain Report 2022 report by CVVC Venture Capital in collaboration with South Africa's Standard Bank reveals that Ripple and XRP are already utilized in 13 African countries. In the report, which was released in late April 2023, but has gone unnoticed in the XRP community, an entire page is dedicated to the technology of Ripple. According to the report, the opportunities for digital payment service providers like Ripple in Africa are overwhelming. While the region has already made significant progress in recent years, much of the potential is still untapped, it says. By 2025 alone, electronic payments revenue is expected to grow 20% to $40 billion. So I want to pause there and just say 2025 is 2 years away, and there are a lot of fast-growing projections being made about 2025. Crypto is expected to grow 20% or more in a lot of reports that I've seen. So this is not uncommon or unusual to see that in this report. It goes on to say, however, there are still gaps in the continent's financial system that leave countless people unbanked and many African businesses. Crypto is also the solution due to the high penetration of cell phones. Yeah, so let's pause there. And absolutely, we've heard about the unbanked community and why Ripple and XRP, and in particular any other cryptos that are less expensive, fast-moving, scalable, etc., are the answer to many of these problems. That you don't have to build the financial infrastructure, you don't have to build bank buildings, you don't have to build all of that infrastructure and that expense. You can go right to your cell phone and use crypto and solve a lot of problems on the continent. It goes on to say, yet less than 10% of total payments in Africa are currently made digitally. According to the report authors, blockchain and crypto-enabled remittances can save an average of 6.3%, and in sub-Saharan Africa, 8.46% in fees compared to traditional methods. So we know crypto can be less expensive and faster, and certainly solve this problem without having to, again, create that infrastructure. Ripple already well positioned in Africa. The report effectively provides a pitch for Ripple and its XRP based on demand liquidity (ODL) solution. It also unveils a map of the countries in which the company is already active. Now I'm going to mess up pronunciation of some of these countries that I'm not really familiar with. Benin, Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, Togo, and Uganda. And then it gives us a map so we can see the locations where Ripple is already entrenched and making great inroads. And it says, Ripple's payment solution on-demand liquidity enables organizations to settle global payments in real time at a fraction of the cost without tying up working capital in destination accounts. By leveraging the digital asset XRP as a bridge currency, funds can be sent and received in local currency on either side of a transaction. Yeah, exactly. That's what we know. The classic use for Ripple and XRP's ODL is to move money, to transfer funds. You act as a bridge between any two different currencies that we are converting between. It says, thanks to Ripple's growing global network, multinational financial institutions can also benefit, according to the report. They can reduce costs by eliminating upfront funding while gaining access to payout rails around the globe. As digital payments innovation and crypto adoption broaden, Ripple is partnering with local financial institutions and fintechs to bring the benefits of better cross-border remittances to the region, including regional payment interoperability and seamless money movement across the continent. A special mention is also made of Ripple's partnership with MFS Africa, which was announced in the first quarter of 2023. According to the report, the South Africa-based provider is using ODL to create ISO 20022 compliant payment services and blockchain-based payment rails. XRP price needs to hold crucial support. At press time, the XRP price stood at 42 cents. Okay, well, that's about price, which is going to fluctuate, but I do want to go over to this report. The actual report that they're referencing, I don't think anyone has really delved into that, at least not that I've seen. Maybe they did earlier and I've missed that, but there's some very, very important information in here. This is again CV Venture Capital's second annual African Blockchain Report, affirms the impact of blockchain in Africa. Now I want to scoot down and just show you one really important fact that I didn't know and you might not know, but really caught my attention. Right here, Africa, the most vigorous blockchain region globally, at 429%, the highest global growth. Now we'll go back and touch on that, but I just thought that was an outstanding statistic that I had not heard before. So the blockchain in Africa, super important, the most important region, and this is very exciting. It goes on to say Switzerland and South Africa, 18 April 2023, CVVC's second African Blockchain Report 2022 affirms the transformational impact that blockchain technology is having on the welfare of African nations and the continent's technology standing. Africa is the only global region to have experienced increased venture funding and an explosion in blockchain-specific funding, cementing the fact that the technology is impacting African lives, well-being, and the continent's resilience, which I think is super exciting. It says African blockchain venture funding increased by 429%, outpacing global blockchain funding, which grew 4%. Here's some bullet points. African venture funding grew by 34% to 3.14 billion as global funding fell 35% to 415 billion. So they got a lot of capital coming in from venture capitalists, people who know that this is a growing area and region. 26.8 billion was raised globally across blockchain deals, up 4%. 474 million was raised in Africa across blockchain deals, up 429%. So again, in Africa, up 429%, that amazing statistic. African blockchain funding far outpaces the growth seen in general African venture funding, 429% versus 34%, showing over 12.5 times the level of growth on a year-over-year basis. Blockchain achieved a 15% share of all venture funds in Africa. Africa now represents 1.8% of all global blockchain funding, up from 0.3%. Custody and exchanges was the highest funded category in Africa with a 52% share. So they're really developing the exchanges around Africa. So again, the on and off ramps, right? And custody to be able to keep it safe. Africa has its first blockchain headquartered unicorns, KuCoin and Scroll. Africa outpaces global metrics. Blockchain venture funding as a percentage of all venture funding is on the rise globally, 6.5%. In Africa, blockchain funding achieved a record 15% share of all sector-agnostic venture funds raised by the continent, more than double the global average, highlighting the continent's continued emergence as a vital blockchain-based startup investment destination, thus recognizing the need for benchmarkable, ongoing information about blockchain's impact in Africa. CVVC is proud to present the second edition of the African Blockchain Report 2022, published in association with Standard Bank, which operates in more than 20 countries in Africa and abroad. African blockchain venture funding. So you can see African blockchain businesses raised $551 million in Q1 through Q1 of 2023. So over that year across 33 different deals. And look at over here, Seychelles and South Africa accounted for 81% of African blockchain funding in 2022. That's enormous. Also, African blockchain businesses raised $474 million in 2022, a 429% year-over-year funding increase, the highest funding growth rate of any region. African blockchain funding deals increased by 12% year-over-year from 26 to 29 in terms of number of deals. 91% of funding from 12 different deals for venture rounds accounted for the vast majority of funds raised in Africa, containing 91.4% of the funding from 12 deals, up from 43% from 6 deals in 2021. Africa's blockchain drivers: brilliant mindset, necessity, and impact. The number of African blockchain deals grew by 12%, reflecting that Africa's sharp minds are driving valuable developments, particularly in the areas of infrastructure, personal identification, record keeping, and access to financial independence. The report illustrates that the brilliant mindset, energy, and the tech capability of the founders who are leading the African blockchain revolution are exemplary to the rest of the world. In addition to the deep capability, a significant reason for the vibrant growth of the African blockchain sector is pure necessity. Many Africans cannot rely on vast, centralized, regulated infrastructural systems. As a result, innovation has a clean slate on which to paint, and progressive advances seem to follow. These advances sometimes improve existing systems, but more often than not, they are leapfrogging entire legacy systems. That's exactly what I mean. You don't have to build the banks, you don't have to build the buildings, you don't have to bring the people, the employees. You just put the exchange right on the phone and let them go in and out with crypto. Here is 52% custody and exchanges category was the highest funded in Africa, followed by fintech 24% and infrastructure and development 15%. First African blockchain unicorns are born, KuCoin and Scroll.io. Africa, real-life blockchain utility. The second annual CVVC African Blockchain Report, published in association with Standard Bank, shows that blockchain technology continues to impact Africa to a degree that is unprecedented anywhere else in the world. It demonstrates real-life utility, such as in social impact, prop tech, tokenization and NFTs, energy, government, and education. The 70-page report presents an all-encompassing view of the region's blockchain landscape, including in-depth funding data, regulatory facts, industry advancements, an investor watch list, and engaging perspectives from pioneers and leaders within the burgeoning industry sectors. So the black dots are from 2021, the purple dots are 2022. You can see Egypt declined in the number of deals and funding in that year. However, some other areas such as Nigeria, that's right here, increased. So did Cameroon. So did Ghana over here. And Liberia dramatically increased in a year as well. Kenya up 5% or $5 million from 20,800,000 to 25,785,000. And then Seychelles was the biggie. Here we go, almost a 10% increase from 29 million to 208 million. And then South Africa, also a huge increase from 12 million a year ago to 176 million. So huge increases in the southern part of Africa, and really exciting to see this global growth. CVVC's African Blockchain Report 2022 presents an astute analysis of the African industry in the context of global metrics, as well as continent-specific dynamics. Despite facing economic and socio-political challenges, the global blockchain industry broke records yet again in 2022, with a total of 1,828 deals, representing almost a 30% increase from the previous year. Among global regions, Africa emerged as the most vigorous, with blockchain companies achieving the highest funding growth rate of the report's globally assessed regions. In 2022, African blockchain startups raised an impressive $474 million, marking a staggering 429% year-on-year increase in funding. Combining the sharp increase in blockchain funding with the fact that Africa had the smallest global increase in the number of blockchain deals, yet the only region globally exhibiting increases in all deal sizes, indicates that African blockchain startups are raising larger checks and investors are gaining confidence. This is against the backdrop that Africa's share of all global funding has risen more than any other region by a considerable margin. So that is pretty exciting. I think that this just shows us where there's a need, there's a solution, and crypto is really filling that solution. Ripple and XRP are the leaders there getting that done. And I thought this was exciting news to share with you. Now on my YouTube channel, I'd like to do this kind of thing and drill down on some of the crypto examples, get more specific, get into more detail, and really look at certain things that oftentimes we have so much news going by, it's easy to gloss over things and not really look at them very deeply. But I'd like to drill down a little bit on this channel with you and show you some specific and exciting and positive things that are happening in crypto that may not have gotten your attention. So that was that was the reason I wanted to do this particular podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it. My regular podcast, Be Wealthy and Smart, is of course covering broader topics. So we're covering stocks, bonds, real estate, crypto. We're covering private equity. We're covering all different topics financially over on the Be Wealthy and Smart podcast, which you can also access on my YouTube channel. But this particular YouTube series that I'm going to do, I want to drill down and do some videos for you just on crypto. So we're going to roll up our sleeves and look into more detail and find some really positive things happening, particularly with Ripple and XRP, but maybe with some other cryptos too. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until the next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.